Really excited to share with you our latest AMP Impact release, AMP Impact Indus. We'll be walking through all the new features and enhancements in this release. I'm joined today by Prateek Gupta from our product team. I'll let him introduce himself in a little bit. I'll talk you through some of the different components of the release, and we should have plenty of time for Q&A. So if you guys want to, drop any questions that you have along the way in the chat, we can do that, and we'll try to address them in the chat. And if we don't get to them in the chat, we'll talk about them as well. So here's our agenda for today. So I'll run through kind of an updated AMP Impact feature overview. I'll talk a bit through some of the highlights from the Indus release. We will then get a live demo from Prateek of the new Indus features. And yeah, we should have time for Q&A as well. And if folks can just make sure you're on mute when you're not speaking, that would be great. And just do feel free to use that chat for any questions, comments, reactions. We'd love to hear from all of you. I think we may have a poll a little bit later to get your input on the roadmap and your thoughts on some features. So moving on. So here's this updated look at the AMP Impact features overview, and this is a busy image here. It's getting busier as we add more features, so we'll maybe find a way to clean this up so it doesn't look quite as hectic. But all the little colored badges give you an indication of the stuff that we have brought out in Indus in green. In yellow, some of the stuff we have lined up for summer, and in purple, some of the stuff we have lined up for spring this year. So it gives you a flavor of some of what we are working on. Also, the dark red is our what we're planning for our fall release at the moment. You can also see the Hercules release from last year, some of the new features that we brought out there. And then in orange, we've highlighted a few different enhancements that we're building in or that we've got on the roadmap for 2023. So you can see there's a lot going on the AMP Impact roadmap. We're all really excited about that. And this Indus release was our biggest release yet. You may have seen us mentioning that. Definitely a release that I think we were all really energized working on, and a release that we're really excited to be sharing with all of you. So if you aren't already thinking about an upgrade to Indus, would definitely, coming out of this webinar, if you want to chat about that, you can reach out to your account manager at Vera, or if you're working with another partner, chat with them about that. Or if you are one of our partners and you want to chat about upgrades, let's definitely have a conversation about that. There's a lot of new value in Indus that I think will be really helpful for lots of organizations. So some of the highlights in Indus. So these are the new features. This release was really focused on the impact measurement functionality in AMP Impact. So you can see we built out a couple new Lightning Web components. So the set targets page used to be on what's called a Visual Force page, which is kind of older Salesforce technology from the middle to late part of the last decade, which is when we originally built AMP Impact. So these are some of the original features of AMP Impact that we kept building on, and we were really pushing the limits of Visual Force. And I think some of you may have even run into some of those limits on Visual Force. And so it was really time to rebuild these pages as Lightning Web components. If you're using these pages, you know that they're quite complicated. There's a lot of functionality in them, and so it was a big lift to get these onto Lightning Web components or LWCs. But there's a lot of benefit that comes from doing that, and we've also taken the opportunity to do a real major enhancement to the user interface and the user experience. So you'll get a flavor of that in the demo. We've introduced a new indicator type, so you can now use AMP for picklist indicators, whether that's red, amber, green indicators or Likert scales or other kinds of indicators. We've introduced read-only results, so if you're bringing in result data from external systems, you may want to set up an indicator as having read-only results. And then we also have the option for marking results as not applicable. So if a result isn't relevant for a particular period or a particular geographic area, you can mark it as not applicable and then exclude those not applicable results from reports to keep ensure that your analytics are cleaner. Also helpful if you want to track kind of completeness of a report that gets submitted. So these major features and enhancements are really geared at using AMP for impact measurement and indicator management. A few other enhancements that I'll speak to in a little bit as well. But to give you a quick flavor of these features before we get into a live demo, we've got some animated GIFs here that'll show you the new features. So here you can see our new targets Lightning Web component. So you can see you can set targets now across your reporting periods. So you have columns for reporting periods. And we got this feedback from a number of organizations that this kind of interface would be much more helpful than having to go kind of one period at a time. And so you can, with this interface, set targets really across all the periods for one indicator at a time, rather than having to go through different periods and just do it across all the indicators in one period. You've also got, you can see in the, here we go. Well, I'll go back here. So you can see that you've got a hyperlink for certain indicators. So for indicators that have disaggregation in them, we've pushed disaggregation out of that main table because it would be too much to just look at and visually manage in that one table. So we've pushed that into these pop-ups. And so here we go. Should come up in a moment here, but disaggregation, here you go. So you can see how you can handle disaggregated results or disaggregated targets in pop-ups like this one. So you can see this indicator is disaggregated by sex and rural urban. And so that makes for a little bit of a cleaner experience as well. A few other new things with the results page that we'll dig into. You can compare your results against targets on the page as you could before, but you can also now compare against baseline. And one of the other things that Prateek will show is on the targets page, you can set your baselines on the targets page rather than having to navigate away from it if you wanted to do disaggregated baseline data. Picklist indicators, so you can see an example of a picklist indicator here for water toxicity. So we can capture, you can set up, when you're building an indicator, you can set up any number of picklist values on that indicator. You can set a picklist, you can set a target with the picklist, and you can track your results with the picklist, and then use comments as you could before for qualifying why that picklist value is selected. So lots of different use cases where that can be helpful. Here you can see it'll come back again, but you can see the not applicable results feature. So you can, in the comments pop-up, you can choose that results are not applicable for this period or for this geography. And that'll then just display as an NA in the table. There's a checkbox behind the scene that's checked as not applicable. That's to make it easy to filter out. Excuse me. Filter out those results from reports. So some other enhancements to call out. We've also improved the usability of our IATI publishing functionality. So there's quite a bit more guidance on how to use AMP for IATI publishing, as well as better error handling, so that it's easy to figure out what is not passing validation if there's some gaps in the XML that's being generated. We've done a bit of optimization on the reporting period flow. So there's you may be familiar with the generate reporting periods button in AMP. That can save a lot of time if you're generating a lot of reporting periods or grant reports, progress reports. The one caveat with that flow before was that the naming convention wasn't as friendly as it could be. So we've improved the naming convention, made a couple other enhancements in that flow based on feedback. And then we've got Spanish translations for the first time in AMP as well in this release. We already had some Portuguese translations before. We've done a couple updates on those, and so excited to have AMP out of the box now, shipping with Spanish for those of you who have users using that want to use it in Spanish. So I'll hand over to Prateek for a live demo, and yeah, feel free to drop any questions in the chat as we're going along here.
Thank you, Zach. Let me share my screen. Just a second. And please let me know once you guys can see my screen. Can you guys hear me as well?
Yep, we can see it and we can hear you.
Good, awesome. Good, awesome. Thank you for joining this, guys. I'm Prateek. I'm part of the product team, and I'm really excited to show you some of the features that we have built for AMP Impact in the Indus release. As Zach said, this is a loaded release. This is our biggest release yet, and yeah, let's get started. So let's start with the set targets page. As you know, set targets page is used to enter targets for your project indicators. And we have rebuilt this page so that it's faster, it can handle much more data, and it has a cleaner user experience. Another thing you'll immediately notice here, and Zach also talked about it, that you can enter targets for your project indicators across reporting periods. So if I if I select the target frequency annual, which means that I'll be setting targets for all my project indicators which I track annually, I'll see all the annual reporting periods in the table along with all the project indicators which are tracked annually. I can scroll horizontally to see all my reporting periods. I can enter my targets across reporting periods. This lets you enter targets at once, and it also lets you better plan out how your project indicators are going to progress as your project goes ahead. So yeah, we are really excited for this one because this is going to be a great experience, we hope. Another thing you'll notice here is how disaggregated targets are entered. So if I were to enter disaggregated targets for number of admitted patients, I can click on the plus icon here, and I get a pop-up where I can enter all my disaggregated uh, values. So for urban and male, it's 43. I can enter some other targets, and for now, I'll enter 2, and I'll click on save. When I click on save, you'll see that the total value is displayed on the table so that I can compare my total value across reporting period. And if I want to see the disaggregated values, I can click on the hyperlink and see all my disaggregated data. So yeah, as Zach said, it makes for a much cleaner experience, and it also lets you compare results across the total disaggregated results across reporting. Another major enhancement on set targets page is how you enter baselines. Earlier, users would enter baselines either when they are creating the indicators itself, or they would use the add results page to set their baselines. But now you can select the baseline frequency on the set targets page, and you'll get all the project indicators that have a baseline. And corresponding to those, you can enter your baseline, which means that you can enter baseline in the same data type as the project indicator. So if I have a qualitative indicator, I can set a qualitative baseline for it. It also means that I can set a disaggregated baseline. Uh, so if you want to set this track disaggregated baselines, you can definitely use this feature. Uh, it it Another advantage of this baseline enhancement is that we can use baseline track baselines across the geographic areas. So I can set a baseline for Alaska, but I can also set a different baseline for Tanzania. So yeah, these are some of the major enhancements on set targets page. Uh, to Since we have new set targets page where we can set targets across reporting, submit functionality has changed a little bit as well. Now, if you have set your targets for 2 reporting periods, you can select 2 of them and submit both of them at once. It would mean that the set targets page is logged and no further changes can be made to the target page now. So a small enhancement, but we think it will make your experience much more better on this page. Other features like searching project indicators, filtering by different fields, or sorting your project indicator based on this table, they are also on this page, same as the last set targets component. So you can make use of those. Another small change, but that adds a lot of value, is this refresh button on this page. Earlier, users would get a refresh option if a corresponding change was made to a related component. So for example, if I made a change to an indicator, I would get a notification on set targets page, which will tell me that some change has been made and I should refresh that page. I would still get that notification, but now I have a persistent button on this page. So I can refresh this page wherever I want and get the latest target data whenever I need it. So yeah, that's all about set targets page. A lot of new functionality. We have, we have worked pretty hard for this, so we really hope that you use it and tell us how you felt about using it. So let's move to add results page. Since I made some changes on the targets, I have got this notification here, and once I refresh this, it will go. But for now, I'll just dismiss it. The add results page, you'll see it remains mostly the same as last one, but since this is also a LWC component, it is much faster, it can handle much more data, and it has a cleaner UX than before. The major enhancement on this page, in line with our changes to baseline data, is now you can compare your results with baseline. So if you have set your baselines, you can select those baselines here, and you can compare your data with targets as well as baselines. It also means that if I want to compare my disaggregated baselines, I can click on this pop-up and I can compare my disaggregated results with disaggregated baselines. We really hope that this adds a lot of value to you, how you use your data, how you track your results, and you'll be able to much more efficiently track the progress of your project. Another changes, some other changes that we have made on both set targets page and add results page is the ability to preview your qualitative data. So if you have qualitative indicators, you don't need to click on the edit icon to see the results and targets now. You can just hover over the icon and see it. It's same for both results and targets. We hope it will save a lot of time for you. If you're looking for a specific indicator, you can just do it and just click on the one that you need to. Similar to previewing qualitative results and targets, you can now preview the comments as well. So yeah, same idea to save some time for you. And once you click on the comments icon, now you will see that you have a new field to mark results as not applicable. So for some reason, if you are not tracking a particular indicator for a particular reporting period or a geographic area, you can mark that as not applicable. It will also set up results in a way that the not applicable will be indicated on the results. So if you are creating a report, for example, you can filter out the results and only have those which you want. It will also allow you to create a result completion report, for example, and see if your grantees have completed all the results for the corresponding reporting period or geographic area. Similar to the set targets page, we have a persistent refresh page on the add results page now, and all the other existing features that you will find on the Visual Force page are also available on the set targets page. So things like stoplight, validation ranges, searching, sorting, filtering, all those functionalities are available here as well. I'll now move to the results download upload functionality. It's the same as you are used to. There are a few changes to the template now. Since we have added baseline to how we are tracking results and targets, you can now compare your results to both baseline and targets on your downloaded sheet. Additionally, if you are using picklist indicators, you can enter the data for that too. And as you would see for these indicators, you will see what results are applicable. So you can enter one of those. You can also mark your results as not applicable in the sheet itself if you want to. Of course, this sheet is customizable, and the system admins in your organization or your implementers can somewhat customize what this looks like if you want. For example, if you are not tracking baseline, that could be hidden, things like that. Cool. So this is all about setting targets and adding results. Related to these, we have made some changes on indicators functionality, which Zach talked about. So we have a new data type on indicators, which is a picklist indicator, which means that now you can create indicators and predefine the values that can be chosen as targets or results for those indicators. There are a lot of use cases for these. As Zach said, you can track your values on a Likert scale, or high, medium, low, or set your statuses like red, amber, green. You can do this. Additionally, if you want to map your picklist values to numeric values for analysis purposes, you can also do that while creating the indicator. Let's go to the targets and results page. Let's go to the results page and see how the picklist indicators look. So satisfaction level of patients is a picklist indicator, and you can see that when I'm entering result, I get the predefined options of high, medium, and low here. And as a user, I can select any of these options. So if my value for this reporting period is high, I will select that. Another change to the indicator and a major enhancement is the is read-only results. Read-only results allow you to set some indicators in a way that users won't be able to change their results. They'll be able to set targets, but won't be able to use the add results function page to set the results. To do that, you have to select the type of results as read-only. And once we go to the results page, you'll see that this particular indicator, fund released by government for health education initiatives, is read-only. So user can't make any changes to this project indicator. This generally the data for these indicators is from integrations, or you are getting this data from some third-party applications and directly feeding that into Amplify. This will also play nicely with the feature we'll soon roll out called data ingestion. So keep your eyes out for that. All right. Let's talk about some enhancements that we have made to the reporting period functionality. Uh, we have made it easier for users to generate reporting periods using the reporting period, generate reporting period flow. And we have made it much more friendly than before. Reload just a second. So as you'll see, now you can choose to change the start and end date if you want to. And you can also select, in addition to the reporting periods that you want to create, for this demo, I'll create annual and life of project. You can also select if you want to create a baseline reporting period. So if you are tracking baseline for your project, you should select this option. And then when you click on next, you will have, if you have duplicate reporting periods, the system will tell you that you already have some reporting periods which are duplicate. So it will give you that warning. If we did have duplicates, we'll have these reporting periods created here. And you will see that the naming convention is improved from last time. So instead of having names like A1, A2, you have names which are in line with the reporting period. So if I'm creating a reporting period for 2024, the name of the reporting period will be 2024. Yeah, these are some smaller changes, but we really hope that this will enhance your experience of how you are setting a project, how you are uh, creating your indicators, and you are tracking your results and targets data. Cool. I'll move to the last feature that I want to demonstrate, and that is IRT publishing. If you're using IRT publishing, you'd know that this feature on AMP Impact allows users to generate XMLs. These XMLs are in line with how IRT expects them, and you can upload those XMLs to IRT portals. Sometimes when you are publishing these IRT XMLs, it needs to pass through a validator. And sometimes those validators give you some error because of incomplete data or some incorrect data. It could be quite a little bit difficult to understand what those errors are. To deal with that, we have introduced error logs. So when you generate your IRT XMLs, the flow of how you generate XMLs is same. You'll select the XML type that you want to create. You either select organization or an activity standard. And then you can select the project that you want to create it for, and your IRT XMLs will be generated. In addition to the IRT XMLs, you will also get an error log. And this error log is present on the account object itself. When you click on this error log, it looks like this. So it will give you all the errors that you have. And these errors are generated by IRT validator themselves. So instead of going to the IRT validator, uploading your file and validating it, you directly get any error that you are facing in AMP Impact itself. Will tell you the line number, the error type, the IRT element where the error is, and what the error is. You can use this error log to correct any errors in the data, any data setup issues or um, the XMLs which are generated by organizations, they are quite large. You are reporting on all your projects at one time, and it could be difficult to understand which data, which part of AMP Impact data maps to which part of IRT XMLs. So for that, we have this improved IRT AMP data mapping sheet. It allows you to see which element in the IRT XML maps to which object and which field in AMP Impact. It also gives you a description of that field and, if needed, some notes for implementers. So we really hope by making these changes, your experience of working with IRT publishing feature would be much more smoother, and you'll be able to use this smoothly. So if you are using IRT publishing, if you're publishing your data on impact and financial data on IRT, or if you're considering that, please consider upgrading to Indus and using the new enhanced IRT functionality. So yeah, that's all from my side. Again, it has been great for us, very exciting for us to work on this release, some really great features. And I'd like to thank all of you who talked to us in the research phase or got on validation calls with us for this release. Your input has been really valuable, and we really hope that put out something that would be valuable for you. So yeah, please consider upgrading to Indus and give us your feedback and what you think.
Awesome.
I'll stop sharing my screen and hand it back to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for the walkthrough, Prateek, and hopefully that got everybody energized about what's coming with, or what's available now with AMP Impact Indus. I shared the link to the AMP updates page. We can share it again, but you'll find upgrade instructions and all the latest guides and details there, release notes and whatnot. And Vera team is ready to help out with any upgrades that you might want to hand with. So definitely reach out if we can be helpful with that. But we want to hear from you. So we're going to launch a poll here. Zena, if you want to open up our first poll, we'd love to hear from you which of the features that we've just taken a look at you're most excited about. So if you feel free to select as many as you want. But yeah, we want to hear from you kind of which of these are most energizing for you from what we've talked about today and seen in the demo. So give folks maybe 30 seconds to respond to that. And thanks for all the great questions coming through the chat feed. We're happy to field more as they're coming up, or you can feel free to come off mute too if you have a question that you want to ask. But lots of good questions around the new functionality. Did my best to keep up with them. Cool. And Zena, you can close the poll when you feel like we've got a decent number of responses in there. Hopefully everybody took a second to give us a little bit, give us your thoughts. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. I don't know if that poll is set up to show the results. I didn't vote in it myself, so I didn't get to see the results. Cool. Looks like we got about 25 or so responses. Cool. Alrighty. So next bit on the agenda really is Q&A, and yeah, any questions that you guys have about Indus or about the roadmap or what's coming up. We also have one other poll where we'd like to get your input on features that are on the roadmap and hear what you're most excited about with those. In the meantime, happy to field any Q&A. I think I've answered all the questions that came up in the chat, but I'll just recap some of those responses here. Oh, great. We've got our poll responses. Awesome. Compare results against baseline was what looks like they got the most votes. And then entering baselines. Cool. So a lot of energy around baselines. That's great to see, great to hear. And also sounds like a lot of folks are excited about picklist indicators, improved IATI usability, previewing qualitative targets and comments. Awesome. So hopefully you guys are seeing, we're doing our best to really incorporate your feedback and experiences. I know we've been getting a lot of really useful input both through the summits and through other conversations. So I want to thank everybody for all of that. The questions that we had range. So Jennifer had asked about any improvement in page load time. And I don't know, Prateek, if we have any data on that, but maybe that's an area where we could follow up if we don't have it handy. Obviously, the page load time is going to depend on the amount of data that's being loaded. But one of the great things about Lightning Web Components is they're just much faster than Visualforce. And so if you're using the Visualforce pages for results and targets, there's kind of two aspects where you'll see improvement in the Lightning Web Component. The first is how long it takes for the page to start loading. For some reason with Visualforce, there's a little bit like a lag before it starts querying all the data. And then the second is obviously the speed of processing that data is much faster. So yeah, I don't know, Prateek, if or anybody else on the products team, if we have any data on page load improvement.
We are in midst of performance testing, so we'll have that data soon and we'll publish it.
Super. Jennifer had also asked about seeing disaggregation by sex. Can we only see that through the pop-up, or can we is it still possible to see it in the grid? Correct me if I'm wrong about this, Prateek, but it's now in the Lightning Web Component. It's in the pop-up. There isn't like a setting to be able to see it in the grid itself, right?
Yeah, just the pop-up.
Cool. So yeah, if you do want to see it in a grid, you can do that with a Salesforce report. You can do that with dashboards. You could do that with Power BI or Tableau. You could still do it with the Visualforce page. So I think the advantages of the LWC, hopefully there may be a little bit of a change for people to get used to in terms of doing the disaggregation and the pop-up. But I think, well, we're eager to hear feedback from folks, but I think folks will find that it's overall much friendlier. Cool. We talked a little bit about disaggregation levels. Yeah, I think that's been an ongoing conversation. One of the things that, and maybe I was a bit lengthy in my response to this, but this is in a way, Indus is a bit of a building block that moves us in a direction of if there's enough of a groundswell around more levels of disaggregation, because I think it can be a little bit of a slippery slope. One of the challenges we faced before was just the old interface, both data processing, the Salesforce limits in terms of how much processing time Visualforce pages could handle. There are a few different limits that we ran into with Visualforce pages around that, where if we were to add additional levels of disaggregation, that would have been really problematic, frankly, or could have been really problematic in many more use cases. So the LWC breaks a few of those barriers down, but also by shifting disaggregation into this pop-up, it's now much easier to have kind of a distinct table per indicator, if you see what I mean, where that's needed. So I think that should make it more feasible to explore multiple levels of disaggregation in the future. But it is something that we'll continue to discuss. Obviously, we've got a lot of other stuff on the roadmap that we're working on, but keen to continue getting feedback around that and make sure that we're putting our energy into the areas that are most helpful for folks. All right, see some new questions coming in here. That's great. So yeah, so I don't know if you want to comment, Prateek, on this IATI question from Gerard, like which required fields or the different fields that are used for IATI. Can you talk a little bit more about the mapping sheet?
Yeah, so mapping sheet does tell you about the required fields for IRT. IRT by itself doesn't, I might be wrong here, I'll confirm that, but as far as I know, IRT by itself doesn't ask a lot of required fields, but we have indicated whatever required fields are required in the mapping sheet. So just a second. Yeah. So if a field is required in the parent element, that is indicated in the IRT mapping sheet, and you'll know when to fill what field. This mapping sheet is available in the IRT setup guide. So whenever you are setting up data, this mapping sheet is referred there, so you can look at get to this sheet from that.
Cool. Thanks, Prateek. And then, yeah, Diana's question was also about additional levels of custom disaggregation. So hopefully I've answered that. We're not yet in a place where we can commit to that being available or a timeline when that would be available. But it is, again, something that we're eager to continue hearing from folks around how important that should be as a priority. Obviously, we have other areas of AMP Impact that we're working on. You get a sense of that with the feature overview that I shared before. So we've got exciting enhancements coming up in the next release for the financials download upload. So when you're building out budgets, so we're going to have some improved structure to that budget template, the Excel template, as well as some UX enhancements on the work planning page for building out work plans and implementation plans. And some enhancements to submissions as well in the next release. Those are kind of the bigger ticket items in Jarvis, which is our spring 2023 release. So we're busy at work in designing all that right now, and excited to share that with you guys in a few months. I think we have one other poll along the lines of our roadmap, so we can launch that while you guys are queuing up any other questions you want us to hit on while we're on the mic. But Zenit, if you want to put that second poll up, we can open that up for folks. Cool. So we're keen to hear about you for our 2023 roadmap. So these are different areas that we're working on and designing for in 2023. And we'd love to hear from you which you're most excited about. So results data ingestion. So this is focused around how we can more easily bring result data in from external data sources like mobile data collection tools. Bringing aggregation and calculation functionality into the Manage Indicators Lightning Web component. Right now that's available in the Manage Indicators Visual Force page, and we have are planning to bring that into the Lightning Web component for indicators. A project data publishing wizard, so generating a Word doc from project data to be able to bring data out of AMP Impact across the different project components. The ability to download and upload frameworks and indicators. So for a project to be able to upload a framework and use the same kind of Excel download upload functionality that we have available for budgets, work plans, targets, and results. And then we also have on our roadmap an epic around risk matrix. So being able to visualize risk data in a risk matrix, like a 5x5 matrix of probability and impact of the risk, or 4x4 or 3x3 as the case may be. So we'd love to hear from you which of those you're most excited about. We'll give folks another 20 seconds to answer that. And we'll continue to eye the chat here if anybody has any other questions you want us to cover around Indus or anything else we can answer for you. All right. Oh, quite a balanced results of our poll here. So it looks like not a ton of energy around the risk matrix, but otherwise pretty evenly split across the other four. So that's great feedback for us, and we'll take that into consideration as far as our work on the upcoming releases. So appreciate the input there. Do keep in mind, continue to pass your feedback along. We'll continue to hold AMP Impact summits to foster discussions around the roadmap, but we love the feedback. You don't have to wait for the next summit to give us feedback. If you love something, if you want to see something different change, or if you have ideas for new features, we want to hear about all of that. So so thanks for that. I've pulled up here our just a quick slide as a shout out. We're on the App Exchange. If you love AMP and want to give us a shout out on the App Exchange, we would love that. It's always helpful for building this community with more folks. The statistic I saw was that we had 20,000 users log into AMP Impact in Q4 2022, which was pretty awesome. I think we've really grown an amazing global community here of folks around the sector who are driving better data management across the sector with program and impact data. So we're really privileged to get to work with all of you on that, and excited to grow that community in the years to come. the App Exchange is one way that folks find out about AMP. So we love any input you have there. Yeah, thanks for sharing the link. If you want to go drop a review for us there. And then last but not least, if you would like some upgrade support, you can reach out to your account manager, or if you've got a support contact that you're working with, you can reach out directly to them about planning for an upgrade. If you don't know who to reach out to, you can just drop a note to support@verasolutions.org, and we'll follow up and connect with you, get a sense of where your org is at the moment, and we can help make a plan for upgrading to Indus and get you on the latest and greatest with AMP. So I guess we can give folks a little time back. We'll hang out if there's any more questions that people want to drop in the chat. We'll hang out for a few minutes, but want to be respectful of everybody's time and appreciate everybody making the time to be with us today, and get a flavor of the new AMP Impact release with Indus. So yeah, thanks everybody, and thanks to Prateek for a great demo.